Rajasthan District Court Exam Exercise 8 at the speed of 100 words.
Start. It was a relief to see Priya Ramani, a victim of sexual harassment, acquitted of the charge of defamation laid on her by former editor and BJP leader M.J. Akbar in a brazen attempt to silence women's testimonies of being molested by him. But the acquittal verdict achieved by the courageous testimonies of Ramani and Ghazala Wahab and the stellar feminist lawyering by Rebecca John is path-breaking because it did much more than refuse the attempt of a perpetrator to punish his victim. The verdict went beyond a mere refusal to convict Ramani for criminal defamation. The verdict vindicated Ramani and, by implication, the other women who had variously come forward to accuse Akbar of sexual violence by accepting Ramani's truth as a defense to the charge of defamation. The verdict's reasoning for accepting Ramani's and Wahab's testimonies as truthful is vindication for scores of women. Women speaking up against sexual harassment are often disbelieved, often asked, "What proof do you have?" Other questions women face include, "Why did you not speak up immediately after it happened? And why did you take to media or social media to tell your story instead of filing a criminal case?" The Ramani judgment is worth celebrating because for once a court of law took on the burden of offering a definitive answer to these questions. Survivors and feminist activities will now find their burden a little lighter. They will be able to ask all questioners to find the answers in this landmark judgment. The verdict urged society to understand that sometimes a victim may for years not speak up due to mental trauma and underlined that a woman has a right to speak up about the abuse even after decades. It pointed out that since sexual harassment typically takes place in private, women's testimonies cannot be dismissed as untrue or defamatory simply because they are unable to provide other witnesses to back their allegations. Institutional mechanisms have systematically failed to protect women or provide justice. The verdict reasoned and therefore survivors and justified in sharing their testimonies on media or social media platforms as a form of self-defense. This insightful reasoning is possibly the most significant and precious part of the verdict. Men from privileged classes, when accused of sexual violence, are quick to accuse women of injuring their reputation and status. There have even been campaigns across political aisles claiming that the amendments to India's sexual violence laws in 2013 are draconian when applied to privileged men. The unspoken and sometimes outspoken assumption has been that these laws were meant to be used only to convict slum or street-dwelling thugs like the accused in the 2012 Delhi bus rape case. When women professionals seek justice against respectable and even celebrated men, their influential friends raise a cry of outrage and promptly accuse the complainants and their feminist supporters of injuring the reputation of such men. The reputations of the women are held as too puny to count. The Ramani verdict is a huge moral vindication of the Me Too movement and will hopefully serve to deter powerful men from using the defamation law to silence survivors, but we are still very far away from ensuring workplaces free of sexual harassment for every woman, every trans person in the media and social media. It is the cases involving well known individual men that tend to receive attention. But sexual harassment is a problem of institutions rather than of individuals alone. The world over, employers deploy